viewers. It's time for the July roadmap update for Train Sim World 3. As usual, I read this to you to improve the accessibility of the information for those who can't, won't, or simply don't have time to get to the source and read it for themselves. Let's skip over the TLDR summary, because we always do, and this bit, because we always do, because it's always repeated down here anyway. The roadmap. Happy Independence Day to all our American players. Slurps tea. But before you get into your parades, barbecues, and fireworks displays, it's time for the July roadmap. It's probably a bit late for that because, it is next day. But anyway, getting top billing this month is the Thameslink Class 700/0, which we can now reveal will release on Tuesday, July the 11th. That's not far away. We get an update from James with a first look at it in action. We're previewing it this Thursday from 6 p.m. UTC. So put that in your diaries. That's about 4 or 5 a.m. for me, so no. I'll look at it after. Also this month, and a happy coincidence, completely planned initiative around releasing a roadmap on the 4th of July, we have a new American gameplay and livery pack. Oh, what a coincidence. Developed by Skyhook Games, added to the roadmap. More details to come soon. Bundle in some patch updates. The first of which includes the long-awaited HSC livery designer functionality, Midland mainline improvements, and Link Roadstrekker BR103 brake improvements, launched earlier today, and in inside development focusing on our build process. It's an interesting one as ever, and we've got a lot to talk about. So I've done a separate video on the patch notes, so look that up if you're interested. It's a shorter roadmap this time around. We're sure you'll all be delighted to hear, as we continue to work on stuff behind the scenes. We'll of course be streaming later from 1800 UTC, 6 p.m, and you can ask your questions in this thread for us to pick up in our Q&A session. Beta program applications. We are pleased to confirm we've approached 25 of our applicants for the beta forum earlier this week. Please check the email you supplied with your application if you haven't already. Thank you to everyone who took the time to apply. We had over 300 applicants and tried to cover a breadth of platforms, interested, and locations in order to get a wide spread of feedback as we could. For those who applied and haven't yet had a response, we will of course keep your application on record for any future expansions of the beta program. Upcoming content. The Thameslink Class 700/0. Last month we asked James to give us an update on the Class 700, and he went ham on it. This time around, we have a release date for you, pricing information, sounds, and a teaser video sharing what you can expect. James, that's right, it's me, back at it again with Class 700 news, and let's kick things off with the most important update of the day. Everyone's favourite Desiro City is coming to Train Sim World 3 on July the 11th. The Thameslink BR Class 700/0 will be available on all platforms for £12.99, €15.99, $16.99 US, and we will also have bundle options available to pick up the ultimate Kent high-speed experience. So just going by past things, expect about 25 for Aussies, somewhere in that vicinity. As the countdown begins for more commuter action on the Medway towns, I also have another little gift up my sleeve for you. Foster your foresight into the inner workings of the Class 700 with the manual. Ooh, a manual. Haven't had one of them for a while. Be prepared for July the 11th by familiarising yourself with the cab controls, procedures, and included gameplay. The 700 is a little bit of a mind bender. It's pretty accurately simulated, just saying. To get a glimpse of the 700 in action, we will have Ralph and TV preview stream in 2 days' time, July 6th at 1800 UTC, where Matt, JD, and yours truly will showcase the all-new unit. If you just cannot wait that long though, never fear, we have a walk-around video which we can share with you today. See the Class 700 in action, including its dual voltage capabilities. That'll be on Dovetail's channel. With the Class 700 releasing in a week's time, the unit is essentially feature, physics, and sounds complete. The Desiro cities are certainly interesting to drive. Much like the Class 395, the difference between AC and DC acceleration is noticeable, but what is a common factor throughout are the brakes. They have oomph. The fastest I've personally approached a station so far is close to 50 miles an hour, and I still made the stop. So while being daring is not recommended driving practice, it's certainly good fun to put the 700 through its paces in various conditions. For the sounds, a mix of sources have been vital to our efforts, including files from the detailed Armstrong Powerhouse sound set. The distinctive DC traction motors are my favourite, with an extra twist compared to older UK Desiros. The motor phase sound change happens at 28 mph rather than 20, which makes it a handy notifier for your speed approaching the limit through the dense midweight towns. The Class 700 will complete the passenger experience on South Eastern High Speed, bringing an additional 80 plus services and a bumper pack of 7 scenarios. That means South Eastern High Speed has got a massive number of services now. It's interesting to see how the game's going to cope with this. Being a familiar sight to thousands of every day, including many of us here at DTG, it's been a labour of love. The seats might be a bit stiff. They might be just a way of getting from A to B, but they're solid, effective and plain good fun. Thanks, James. We have some additional things worth mentioning, which we'll discuss more in the preview stream on Thursday. When being an Aussie, know nothing about 700s, looked them up on the internet, watched a few YouTube videos. The things sound like a car alarm going off when they're driving, just saying. During the testing window, we've identified some difficulties with performance on certain consoles, specifically Xbox Series S. Or, I've got one of those, with all the new services being added to South Eastern High Speed. As a result, we'll be providing a full timetable and a smaller, less memory-demanding timetable, which will mainly remove some static stock and less visible AI services. Players will have the smaller timetable by default in Journey mode, and the option to try the more memory-intensive timetable in the Services menu. And finally, by way of an update, we've not been able to put the Thameslink stop markers we mentioned in last month's roadmap into the launch release for the Class 700, but they are firmly in our sights for an update further down the line. They were the things that Daisy worked on. The preview is at 1800 UTC this Thursday, 6th of July, so set your alarms and join us. That's about 4 or 5 a.m. on the 7th for the Aussies. Excuse me. German Loco. Work is continuing on the German Loco. No further news at this stage. NEC New York Trenton updated timetable. We're continuing to work on the improved New York Trenton timetable. By way of a status update, we're waiting for a core dispatcher improvement in order to complete the development on the timetable. It then needs to be tested and iterated on, so it's a little while off yet. To check out a description of what we're aiming towards for improvements, check out May and June's roadmap articles. There were quite substantial changes. Train Sim World 3 core improvements and content patches. A progress summary on the core improvements the teams are working on after bringing out a large patch at the start of the month and an improved Southeastern high-speed timetable a couple of weeks ago. Work continues on other areas. If an item isn't listed, it's because there aren't any new updates to share. As a general note, the core improvement to resolve issues with last week's update, 21st of June, has hampered progress on getting some of this content out, and we apologise for the continued wait. HST livery designer compatibility has been released in a patch today. Read the patch notes. Missing Peninsula Corridor and Oakville Corridor baby bullet services. Fix is in the queue to be tested. TSW3 preservation crew releases. Nothing further on this one from last month. You know, given TSW3 is on sale right now, and you can get it on Humble Bundle for a couple more days for like $20, give up TSW2 people. Move on. Move on. That's a summary of the patches. We've already done a patch video, so we'll skip over these. Upcoming July patches. These are currently in our plans, but can change based on content releases. So there's the one released today, and yes, we've been through that in the patch video, but I'll read it out again now anyway. It's Midland Mainline patch number 2. TPWS should now only activate when matching train direction, notably around Mount Sorrel and Nottingham Sea lines. Train should not automatically brake as you pass the entry line turnout on the down fast line. Driving 1C20 past Mount Sorrel with a green signal should not activate TPWS. Can't make your mind up scenario should now be completable. I guess you can make your mind up now. Poster at Leicester Station should now be accessible. Updated PIS at stations to correctly display the operating services. Updated the PIS font on the Class 158. Tail lamp should now be present on the rear of all ROG 37 or freight services. Note, the railhead treatment trains have not had this supplied. Link Rheinstrecker update number 2. DBBR 103 braking improvements. Mode indicators should now display 500 Hz restrictive mode properly. PZB indicators should now remain active after resuming a save game. Improved lighting at main station to remove black scenery items. Fixed flooded terrain. HST livery designer functionality and GWE tweaks. HST coaches and power car will be available for use in the livery designer. Yay. I've been waiting for that forever. Well, I haven't, but lots of people have. Added correct HST numbering and lettering to coaches. Minor footstep audio tweaks. Disabled substitution of HST in Class 66 in scenarios. This prevents random errors that cause some scenarios not to be completable. Weird that the HST in the 66 ever substituted, because they're quite different. Planned for later this month, Nida Talban post-release patch, improved wheel motion blur, sharpening of some scenery, added magnetic brake functionality to the BR628, audio improvements to the BR628, PZB, CIFA, low horn, interior horn volume, air brake release, fixed tail lights not switching on for AI services after changing direction. PIS should now display a destination after save game reload, and more. Tutorial fixes for Nuremberg Dresden, Bakerloo Line, and Hamburg Lübeck. Remaining spawn on foot issues for Southeastern High Speed. Other updates without a current release date in no particular order. Glossop Line post-release improvements. Peninsula Corridor fix for missing baby bullet services. TSW3 preservation crew updates. Third-party developer partner program update. Updates from some of our partner program developers. This month we have an update from Adam at Skyhook Games after Midland Mainline's release from the team at Just Trains. Skyhook Games, Midland Mainline. Following our latest update to address player feedback, we have continued to monitor things and prepared more improvements for the route. We have completed updates to the Class 158 high-speed trains, scenarios, timetable, signalling, safety and passenger information systems. With the help of DTG, we hope to have these improvements rolled out to players as soon as possible. USA scenario and livery pack. Work progresses towards completion for this locomotive lineup. We are currently finalising gameplay development and moving into the localisation and testing phase. Just Trains. Another month, another detailed update. Alex from Just Trains team gives you an update on what they're working on and some more teasing pictures. Summer has arrived and it's the perfect time to go on your holidays, and this is just the kind of thing that you'll be able to do virtually in the upcoming Just Trains Train Sim World route, whether it is wet or dry. Do you want to head towards the coast or visit a city to see the sights? It's been a bit of a roller coaster ride, but the Just Trains team are making fantastic progress, having completed 38 miles, leaving only 10 miles left to detail. Another bit of a tease for people to try and guess where this is. Looks kind of nice. The sleepers down the side are a nice touch. Lots of grasses and clutter. It looks a bit lived in. Good stuff. All the large stations are completed and work continues on the less grand examples. We even have one that is depicted in a state of disrepair. It looks absolutely amazing and is explorable. Oh, that's good. Nothing like a bit of an urbex. The track side scenery looks fantastic, really immersive. Looking at some of the screenshots, you need to take a second hard look to confirm it's virtual and not real. We have started on placing the overhead line equipment, OHLE. There's a clue, it's an electric route. The other assets that this route requires are all coming along very nicely and really add to the atmosphere, although the real-world use of some distinctive sites near the track are unclear. Our rail vehicle is looking hellfire and is currently having its simulgraph dynamics and animations and sounds created for it. At this advanced stage, it's good to see how the land lies. LYES. I'm tipping that's a clue. That would appear to be a coupler. So it's a modern electric unit because that's a modern coupler. We are creating a product that will help recreate the days of British Rail with a focus on the timetable, giving you an immersive experience with busy and varied operations that feature passenger parcels, freight and shunting. Ooh, some new interest. When driving our route, you will find significant changes to the timetable you drive depending on which season you are driving in, thus providing a wealth of possibilities. Alongside this, our use of layers, which will interact with other add-ons that you may own, like the BR Class 31, spawning on passenger diagrams, for example, will mean you will never be certain on what might turn up, just like the good old days of BR. Well, apparently it might be nothing turning up, but anyway, we are so looking forward to you seeing it. There's the BR Strappy logo. Inside development, the update process. We've had a lot of questions around the process whereby we update our games. Why is something released before something else? How do we put content together? What complexities come with that? Whilst we're not going to provide all the answers today, we wanted to give you a brief summary in order to be as transparent as we can. We have lots of pieces of content in our catalogue and lots of really good feedback from you all. Thank you. which we'd like to get to as quickly as we can. The realities of game development mean that in practice, some things will take less time than others for a variety of reasons. We have to balance all these pieces of content against each other and prioritize in terms of severity of issue, length of time it's been a problem, and how sweeping the changes might be. When content changes or patches are submitted for a particular piece of content, we review severity. Is it resolving a game-breaking experience? Visibility. How many players will see it? Viability. Is there an opportunity to fold it into an already prepared build, or does it need to be treated in isolation? Some will require what we call content improvements, such as scenery improvements or a non-functional button on a locomotive that might only touch one piece of content. These are relatively safe and easier to test the impact of. Core improvements, such as add-ons manager or dispatcher changes, will touch every piece of content in the game and require much more comprehensive testing. Core improvements often also need to be tested in isolation to remove any other parameters which might impact changes. Some might need a combination of both content and core improvements, such as Trenton's timetable changes. Once we have a queue, it's time to test the content. We'll do so with our QA team and the team of brilliant beta testers. Hi. And any flags issued will be sent back to development teams to review. This can take several iterations over several weeks with several new builds until we have a build we believe robust enough to put live. We then put this content into a suitable build, preparing it for release. This is a separate queue to the testing queue. It's more efficient for us to collate content together in larger patches for reasons explained below. So in most cases, we'll aim to release lots of content at the same time. Then, when it's that patch's time to shine, we'll book in times with the 7 platforms we release the game on, all of which have different processes, quirks, and pipelines that need to adhere in order to schedule that time for release. We will, where possible, ensure all platforms are released at the same time, or as close to for patches. It then makes its way to you to enjoy. And that is it in a nutshell. There are, of course, other complexities we need to consider throughout these processes, and of course certain content can jump the queue if we deem it necessary to do so for the reasons listed above. We hope that this helps to provide a little more insight, and we'll discuss this in more detail in tonight's stream. So that's the roadmap stream, which should be on YouTube right about now. This month, we've added indicators to show how far along the development various items on the roadmap are. Next arrival, our next release today. Expect this content to be released before the next roadmap article. In development, active development's underway. Expect the content to be longer than a month away, but less than 3 months away. In planning, in the planning stages, initial development has started. Expect this to be 3 to 9 months away. At a red light, not in active development, but something we're committed to delivering. No ETA at this point. Dovetail Games releases. These are forthcoming add-ons that are being developed by Dovetail Games. This is the usual wording. Next arrival is the Thameslink 700. We've talked about that. In development, there's a German locomotive. And partner program releases, we've talked about what they are. So it's a USA scenario and livery pack by Skyhook and a UK route developed by Just Trains. And in planning, the DBBR 420 electric multiple unit for Hopstreck München Augsburg, developed by TSG. It's been around for a couple of years. Core features are larger projects. These may be significant new pieces of functionality or changes that will affect players on one or several different platforms, often requiring more time in development. This list may move more slowly than others. TSW3 add-ons manager for Xbox and PC. It is out for PlayStation. TSW3 derailing improvements, route by route. Save game improvements, route by route. And TSW3 performance optimization. Special Projects Team and patches. Projects are being tackled by the Special Projects Team. In additions or changes to the upgrade will include some or all of the following: station departure boards, animated crossings, platform climb-up functionality, improved track rendering, rush hour passenger density and appearance, support for rail driver, contact signal functionality, minor fixes to scenery, minor fixes to audio, minor fixes to gameplay, minor fixes to menu items, livery designer compatibility, and scenario planner expansion. We have included a scale of the size of the work or features put into the update. This stuff hasn't really changed for a while, I don't think, mostly apart from the new bits. So there's the Midland mainline patch, link ride tracker patch we've talked about already, HST we've talked about already. In development, we've talked about already the Nidler to Barn post-release patch, Peninsula Corridor and Oakville subdivisions, access to Baby Bullet services. NEC New York Trenton timetable improvements. A small thing or tiny for Scottish commuter, small for Hopsteg, Hamburg, Lübeck, including a timetable update, medium for Rhine-Ruhr, Austin, small 2022 Bakerloo timetable with 600 plus services, small Long Island Railroad, huge Peninsula Corridor. Note there are further improvements to come in both games. Huge Oakville subdivision, tiny LGB Mediterranean, TSW3 and 2 DBBR 187 audio improvements. Miscellaneous projects that players will notice but don't fall into other categories. In planning, there's a manual fireman functionality for steam locomotives. At a red light, rush hour passenger system for London commuter. Sad. Removed from the roadmap. Items have been removed either because they've been completed, their status having changed, or the project having been suspended. Glossop Line released. Link Rhinestrecker released. Bremen Oldenburg patch released. Rivet Games content patch released. Midland Mainline Post patch release number 1 released. And that's about it. So if you've got any questions, chuck them down below. I'll see what I can do. And as always, I'm happy to pass your feedback via the Ambassador channel. So enjoy yourselves. See you later.